exploring new worlds of fiction. Oh my gosh. Something popped up. Now I got to start over.
Isn't
Sorry,
that
y'all.
how
This
it
is my
always
first live
goes?
episode. So I was going to say, welcome to the Avatar Slang Podcast, your ultimate hub for exploring the worlds of fiction, fandom, and nerd culture, where they collide with politics, society, and everything in between. Before we dive into today's episode, please follow on Spotify, your favorite podcast platform. So that's Apple, Amazon, whatever you use. Um, well, I'm also on YouTube, so full episodes are on YouTube. The podcast is also available on, um, I guess Spotify, YouTube, and Apple are the main ones people use these days, right, Dan?
I would say so. Spotify is my go-to.
Okay, but yeah, also follow me on TikTok. Well, TikTok, that's hilarious. don't Maybe don't follow me on there. The funeral's in like 5 days.
Let TikTok die.
Let it die.
Let it go quietly into the night.
Okay, I guess we gotta let it go. We're not gonna cover that today, by the way, right?
Maybe another time.
Maybe another time if it actually happens, because there's things that are supposed to kick in a couple of days to see what really happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see
Um,
how we'll see how that all shakes out.
yeah, but follow me on Instagram at avatar.slang. That's avatar.slang. I post short videos about different topics, usually Marvel related, movie related, I guess anime, but it depends on the anime, and TV related. Um, yeah, so today I am joined by Dan Von Doom.
Hello, hello.
If you listened, you've heard him here. Is this your third time on now?
Third or fourth, one of those
Okay.
two.
It's gonna get to a point where we won't even count anymore.
Yeah, right. Oh, this guy again.
But I
Something like
mean,
that.
you gotta be here. I think you're very insightful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Um, Sorry, y'all. This is my first live episode, and being that I don't want to just talk to the sky, I'm going to send in the episode. I said the episode. Send him the link so people could see it.
Hell yeah. I have
So
I've got shares queued up and ready to go.
okay, give me. Oh, it opened up a link. That's not what I was trying to do. Okay, this app doesn't like me. It's a new software. I'm sending it to your messenger right now, Dan. But anything new with you?
I wouldn't say anything in particular is new. Um, no, I guess that's not quite true. I'm back into watching WWE now, thanks to a
Okay.
group of friends in the nightlife scene, and
Hmm.
honestly didn't see it coming. I said to myself I would never
Hmm.
watch WWE again. You know, even AEW was growing like stale for me, and
Hmm.
now here I am all over again. And I think what I am learning as I go, like with all of this, because my wrestling fandom has come and go in phases
Okay.
throughout my life, especially when it comes to WWE. And what I'm learning this time around, and I guess some part of me always knew this, but this latest iteration of it really hammered it home for me is that it when I was certainly when I was a little kid and to a certain degree a teenager, um,
Mhm.
pro wrestling itself was fascinating to me, especially the less I knew about it, and then I learned more and more and more and more about it. And now I know a shitload about it. And the more the curtain peeled back and the less mystery there was, the less fascinated I became with it. And now it's much less about the thing itself and much more about the kind of experience I can have watching it. And this group of friends that I have, even when I'm not in the same room
Mhm.
watching it with them, which has happened a few times now, and it's a goddamn blast. We're like in group chats and stuff, talking to each other while Raw is happening, and like it's just been really cool. It's been a really nice social experience where, like, yeah, it's WWE, and that's familiar to me, and like
Hmm.
I'm able to ease back into that. But more than that, it's these cool people that are getting into wrestling that I get to share this with, and that's where the majority of my enjoyment recently has come with it.
Okay. So, question: how long were you out of like the whole wrestling, the WWE thing?
So I fell off with WWE in 2014 when CM Punk left,
Oh, that's a while.
and
You said when he left?
yeah,
I didn't realize he left that long ago.
oh yeah, oh yeah, it was 10 years he was gone from WWE, and
Oh.
I got back into pro wrestling
Mhm.
because of AEW back in back in 2020.
Was he a part of that?
Yeah, but so here's the kicker: is purely by coincidence. I
Mhm.
started watching AEW the week before he debuted. I had no idea he was
Oh.
coming.
Mhm.
It just happened, and I was like, "Oh my god, holy shit!"
Okay.
I was ugly crying. I was a mess when he walked out. And it went from there.
Mhm.
AEW got stale for me in recent years. Well, not recent years, recent months, I should
Mhm.
say, because the booking isn't the greatest with that all around.
Mhm.
They're really struggling with being able to. They have too many people, plain and simple. They have too many people signed to the roster, and they're really struggling with finding spots to use all of the talent that they have. And because they're not able to effectively book and sell themselves at the level of a WWE type
Mhm.
company, even though they are like the second largest wrestling company in the world. Um, they're not pulling in the kind of money that they need to expand their brand either. So there's no room for these guys to really like breathe. And
Got it.
it's a problem. And it's not to say that, you know, watching AEW isn't fun.
Mhm.
Watching AEW isn't a good time. It's a great time. They put on insanely good matches. Some of the best pro wrestling matches ever have come out of AEW, even in the short time it's been around.
Mhm.
It it's that like if you find that you like a guy that's or a girl that's not like the main focus of the current push, or even sometimes if they are, they'll get lost in the shuffle and just mysteriously off of TV for weeks at a time before you see them again.
Got it. Okay. So so did you get into WWE when it debuted on Netflix?
So um one moment. Yes, sort of. Got back in the WWE. The timing of when I got back in the WWE was a little bit before the Netflix shift.
Mhm.
We knew already that they were making that jump because the deal had been done by then. But I would say that I was already watching for like a month and a half before they made the jump over last week or whenever it was, and um, yeah, that's been a lot more convenient, especially for a weekly episodic show that like
Yeah.
you really, I mean, you don't have to, but you have to watch live. Streaming platform, it's the way to go. Like nobody wants to fucking deal with cable anymore.
Even though isn't there a thing saying that streaming is becoming almost as expensive?
Um,
Or is that overblown?
it's overblown. That's so that's if you have like every goddamn streaming service out there. Sure, if you're paying for Netflix and you're paying for Hulu and you're paying for Disney Plus and Paramount and HBO and Apple,
Mhm.
whatever, like if you have all of them, yeah, it'll add up to the same cost as a monthly cable bill. But if you're just subscribed to like one to three of them,
Mhm.
no, absolutely not. Doesn't equal the charge of a cable bill.
Also, the idea of choice is a lot better when it comes to that because cable forces you to have channels you don't really
Oh,
want.
absolutely.
Like, I lived my whole life not knowing that people watch Bravo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, now I'm in a world where I work in elementary school, so a lot of teachers watch Bravo.
Sure.
And why did I say that? Just to say that I Bravo never existed to me, yet it was always on basic cable.
Yeah, there's a lot of channels like that, and even ones that like as you know, when you're a little kid, right? Uh, you, I'm betting at some point you watched PBS like
Hmm.
everybody else in the goddamn world. I'm not sitting around watching PBS now, am I?
No, but
And
yet
vice versa.
we're
You
there.
know, when I was 3, 4, I wasn't watching Comedy Central, but
Hmm.
I sure as hell try to catch the Daily Show when I can these days.
Yeah,
It's you know, stuff like that. With a cable package, you can't. Well, for the most part, I think now there's like I think maybe with Comcast you get to like pick and choose what you want to a certain
but
extent,
it's more
and maybe
expensive for
Verizon
less
too. But
now.
like for the most part, if you're getting a cable package,
Hmm.
you're gonna it's gonna come with stuff that's not immediately relevant to your life. Like
And
heads up, warning, born in Philadelphia, I'm not really a sports fan. I mean, I am, but not like hugely.
yeah,
So I don't watch ESPN. I don't watch golf and all that. So like those channels are meaningless to me. And and even when I do, you know, want to catch a game, I do that by myself. Like I
hmm,
sit down and I watch that on my own, but I almost never live. I'm always, you know, catching replays and stuff. And people pay through the nose for like HD sports packages, and that,
yeah,
for example, is meaningless to me.
that's fair. So, um, yeah, I do like the idea that streaming brought competition to these channels, and it's even funnier to see um these channels lose money on trying to keep up with us. Like
Yeah,
Disney took a loss last year. I think a lot of these channels took a loss these past few years.
yeah. Times are changing.
Mhm,
Companies are, if they were smart, like can't believe I'm about to throw them a compliment here. Like Disney, they
mhm,
got out in front of this and
mhm.
had their own dedicated streaming platform. And Disney's, you know, big enough that and they have enough of a library that they're able to do that for themselves,
Yes.
even regardless of Hulu. Um, so they were ready for this. Others not so
Is it
much.
gonna help them though? Because I think they lost money. I don't think Disney Plus made their money back yet.
So that's what I'm driving at is like they didn't have a choice, right?
Got it.
Whether they turned a profit or not, that streaming platform was the way forward for them. They could have done so and turned the profit or not, as they're
Mhm.
currently sitting in the middle of and trying to navigate their way forward financially, or they could not have done something like
And
that and
accepted
been
their
way
fate.
further behind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough of this corporate stuff because that's not that fun. Um, we really came here to talk about a topic we were supposed to talk about a while ago, but
Yeah, like 3 episodes ago.
yeah, Quentin Tarantino.
The man, my favorite goddamn director.
Is he your favorite?
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, absolutely. Like so, and um, of the movies he's made, I think I would only put one or two of them in my. None of them are in my top 5 movies ever made because that's a really
Mhm.
crowded like top 5. They're like it's just 5 movies neck and neck with each other. But I would put two of them in my top 10, and that's Inglorious Bastards and Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Inglorious Bastards is my favorite Tarantino film. I'll get that out of the way early, and you know we can talk about that as we go. But overall, on the whole, concerning film as art, the art of filmmaking, I am of the belief that currently nobody has done it better for longer than Quentin Tarantino. The dude is a goddamn master. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, I have a ton of respect and love for so many other directors, you know,
Mhm.
Spielberg, Carpenter, although, you know, should be John Carpenter. This shirt is a joke on purpose. Um, you know, Kubrick and
Mhm.
so goddamn many legendary directors, Hitchcock, and my second favorite director, Wes Anderson. That's a whole
Mhm.
separate conversation. I'm a huge fan of formalism, which I'm
What did
going.
Wes Anderson make, by the way? Like, refresh me.
Wes Anderson did Royal Tenenbaums, Isle of Dogs,
Got
Grand
it.
Budapest Hotel, Asteroid City, Fantastic Mr. Fox,
Got it.
Moonrise Kingdom. I'm a huge fan of formalism, not just in film, but like in art, in media as a
Hmm.
whole. And I'm going to circle back to that when we talk about Superman later. But
Okay.
um, so many important directors that I have a ton of love and respect for. But there's always been something about Tarantino's movies that just they fucking they grab me by the throat and they don't let go. They demand my mindful engagement from
Hmm.
start to finish, because if you blink, you'll miss something, and then shit won't make sense.
That's a lot like Advanced Rapper.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good comparison.
Like, yeah, because my favorite rapper Lupe does that. And that's not all his songs. People think that's all he does, but some of his most interesting songs, it's like
There's so many details,
there's
and
yeah,
you know me, dude. My favorite kind of rap is technical rap, so
yeah.
I'm with you on that.
So okay, I have a question. How do you feel about Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction. If I'm looking at everything objectively
Hmm.
in terms of things like impact, legacy, influence, what went into making the movie, what it achieved and accomplished at the time, how goddamn groundbreaking it was and still
Hmm.
is. I would venture to say that Pulp Fiction is Tarantino's best and most important movie. Um,
Okay.
it's not personally my favorite
Hmm.
Tarantino film, but oh my god, that movie! There's nothing else like it. There's still nothing. There's still nothing else like it, and it's drawn so many tributes and or imitators in the wake of its release over the
Yeah.
years, and nobody's come close. And part of that is that nobody writes like he does, but another part of that is the cast, the actors that he managed to pull together for that film.
Hmm.
Holy shit. My favorite actor of all time is Christopher Walken. And
I didn't realize that. You do talk about him a lot though.
oh, he's just the greatest. And there's a story about him in that movie, with the scene with the flashback to God, his name escapes me. Bruce Willis's character when he's a kid,
I
and
don't remember his.
Christopher
I
Walken
don't remember
walks
the
in the
names very
military
well.
uniform and gives him his father's watch.
Keep cooking. I'm gonna look it up.
That whole film, or that whole scene, was just one long monologue by Christopher Walken. The kid didn't
Hmm.
have any lines. He just had like blocking and facial expressions and stuff. And that
Oh,
entire
Butch.
and that entire scene, that whole Christopher Walken monologue,
Hmm.
apparently Christopher Walken showed up,
Hmm.
filmed the entire scene in one take, and left. And that was it.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's just on a whole other level.
His name was Butch, by the way.
Butch, that was it. Yes. I knew it started with a B, and it is
Yeah.
escaping me.
So, do you think does Pulp Fiction work better, worse, or the same if it's a linear movie?
I have always been a huge fan of nonlinear storytelling.
Okay.
And nonlinear storytelling, in my opinion, serves a purpose that works towards the ends of what Quentin Tarantino has always sought out to achieve with his films.
Hmm.
And it's something that I touched on a little bit ago that I'm glad I get to circle back around to now. But if you recall, when I was talking about his style of directing and what it forces you to do as a viewer in order to completely absorb everything, you need to mindfully engage with all of it, start to finish. You need to pay attention. You need to pick up the details. You need to be
Hmm.
in the moment and with it for the duration of the film, or else you're going to miss shit. Stuff's
Yeah.
not going to make sense, and then you're going to have to go back or watch it again. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Hmm.
Missing things, missing details in a first, second, third, fifth, whatever viewing. There's nothing wrong with that. I had to watch Inglorious Bastards twice to fully wrap my head around it, and then that like still to this day, I'll rewatch it and go, "Oh my god, that's new, huh?" But
Hmm.
like, so nonlinear storytelling as opposed to point A to point B supports by compulsory nature that active engagement that
Mhm.
Quentin Tarantino wants, and he's talked about it in interviews. Like he's like, I make movies that I want people to really engage with. Right?
Mhm.
He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's employing, the tools that he's using, the things he has at his disposal, and that's part of why he's my favorite director. Is I feel that he's very successful at what he sets out to do and
Mhm.
accomplish with his movies. Um, so to circle back to the original question, no, I don't think that Pulp Fiction or any of his movies works as well as a linear if it were a linear story,
Mhm.
because then you lose that motivation, you lose that facet of
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino's style that's become a hallmark of his.
Okay. So now that you put it that way, I was going to ask another question. The early criticisms of his was the slurs and excessive violence.
Yep.
I can already tell that doesn't bother you in any way.
I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me in any way.
Okay.
And I don't and that too, I think is the point of why that stuff is there,
I
right?
agree.
It's supposed to bother you.
I
It's
agree.
supposed to ruffle your feathers. On one level, it's supposed to drive that active engagement again,
Mhm.
but also like you're not supposed to look at that stuff and go, "Oh yeah, this is fine." No.
Right.
Like the scene in Django Unchained, the giant shootout, you're
Mhm.
not supposed to watch that and go, "Oh, okay, I guess." You're supposed to watch that and go, "Holy shit. What is
Okay.
going on?"
Well, not to overcorrect you or nitpick you, but the way I feel about Django and the way I feel about Pulp Fiction, I feel like it's the same thought, but for different reasons.
Oh,
It,
yeah,
so, like, I think,
absolutely.
and this is
Different
not to
con
correct you, just for the audience.
no worries. Different contexts,
Mhm.
different motivations,
Yes,
but the same form of execution.
yes, absolutely. Like, just for the audience, because they're gonna be like, "What does that mean?" Um, for Pulp Fiction, like you said, you're supposed to say it's supposed to look so, I guess you could say messed up or real that correct me because I think you're this might be more your
Nah,
thing than me.
I wouldn't even say real because it's in the title of the movie, Pulp Fiction, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
supposed to be like a pulp serial story.
Okay.
And if anything, like airing more towards the noir and grimdark side of things.
Yeah.
So
I guess I didn't mean
grittier than
real.
reality.
I don't I meant like the I guess like you said, it's supposed to be not okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
you're
what I
not
meant.
supposed to be okay with it as a viewer, and
Yeah.
the characters that throw, like, the slurs around,
Mhm.
especially in a Tarantino film, that's your cue to look at that person and go, "Oh, you're a piece of shit, huh?"
Yeah.
Because they always are.
Also, I think some shows or movies have a thing where it's implied that this person is bad and you kind of have to like,
Piece that together yourself.
yeah, I think it's a good thing for us to be like, all right, this is bad, this is good.
Oh,
Whereas in Django, the way he shows us is like okay, I always had a problem with Will Smith because he said he didn't want to take the role of Django because you're supposed to fight hate with love. That's cool to me 20 years ago when I was a kid. No, because we live in a country where that's not a thing. And
yeah.
two is like, you don't fight slavery with love.
No. No,
You
you
free
don't.
yourself.
Right.
Like, like, but and here's the thing. He was opposed to violence when it came to a black person freeing himself, but now he
We're
could
gonna
be
talk
a
about the opposite,
cop
huh?
and cops beat people on the sidewalk for looking at him wrong. So I'm like, well, no, that's corny. So sorry to veer off. I just like that Django was like, look, this thing happened, and this is my stylistic way of showing y'all that this thing sucked.
Right. And speaking to the, it's good to have, identifications of good and bad
Hmm.
sometimes. I would say with the possible exception of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Hmm.
which was the first film by him I'd ever seen where the lines were like more blurred than that, which was a really nice touch and worked for that story
Hmm.
right up until the very end when like everything pulls out from under you.
Yes.
Um with the exception of that, you don't really have time in
Hmm.
his movies for that kind of bullshit, right?
Hmm.
It's better that the characters identify themselves up front early on so that you can like know what to expect from them
I never
for the
thought of it that
rest
way.
for the rest of the movies because so much shit is happening that if you had to like suss out a moral compass on any of them in the meantime, that would
Hmm.
bog down the story and the movies would not be as effective in my opinion. In particular, this is the case with Inglorious Bastards where Quentin Tarantino created, in my opinion, the greatest and most terrifying villain in the history of film. And I don't
You said in
mean
the history
great
of film?
and I yeah, in the history of film, above Darth Vader, in my opinion. And I don't mean greatest as in likable. I mean greatest as in most successful as a villain, like
Okay.
the most villain of whoever villained. And that's Hans
Okay.
Landa.
Why is that?
Utterly terrifying. Utterly goddamn terrifying from start to finish. The moment he shows up on screen, puts the fear of God in you, and it never goes away. Not through the whole movie. The Christoph Waltz's performance as Hans Landa, it's unreal,
Aren't you big on him too?
ungoddamn believable. Like I still watch that movie. I still watch those scenes with him in it. Even that initial opening scene in the
Hmm.
house with the people hiding under the floorboards and just the tension that is built in that scene between him and the homeowner and the family.
Hmm.
Oh my god, dude. It makes my heart pound every single time. And the scene with him and Shoshana on the train with the crepe and the cream and he knows exactly who the fuck she is and it's just
Okay. I mean, I never really thought about that before. I I might I mean,
scariest villain in movie history, in my opinion. And then for him to go from that to what he played in Django Unchained.
right,
Oh
right.
my
That's
god.
a yeah. So, well, no, why it was funny that you said Darth Vader. This is a little bit off topic. My ADHD is probably showing tonight. But
Mine does all the time. So
I made a joke with my brother-in-law how these days, and when I say these days, I mean in our lifetime, because Darth Vader predates us by a decade and a half about.
yeah,
So I said to him, I'm like, yo, Darth Vader, for him to be a villain and he's supposed to be the scariest villain, I seen him get beat on a lot. Like a lot. Like so I'm like, it must be scarier for like um these X-wing pilots and those people, the rebel resistance. Like if you don't have a lightsaber, if you don't have a big name,
yeah.
then
It's hard to exist in the Star Wars universe and not be force sensitive unless you're like a Mandalorian.
yeah. But no, like I just saw a clip of him getting beat on by Obi-Wan again.
Yeah,
So um I think for my ranking, I think Thanos is gonna have to rank above Darth
Thanos
Vader.
eclipses Darth Vader for you. I can't really argue with that. I mean, Thanos is a classic villain, even outside of film.
Mhm.
Going back to the comics with the Infinity Saga. The
Oh yeah.
here's my tangent for the evening.
Mhm.
The only time Marvel ever snafu'd with Thanos was there was a new writer that they had hired,
Mhm.
and this writer really, 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 really wanted to use Thanos
Mhm.
or no, I'm sorry, no, it was that this writer really wanted to work on Spider-Man,
Okay.
and Marvel really wanted him to do something with Thanos at the time. Because they
Okay.
had no idea what Thanos was as a character. never intended to give a damn about Thanos as a character, did zero research or reading ahead of time. Wrote a story with Spider-Man where Thanos was a street level villain who
He
stole
got
a
arrested.
helicopter and got arrested, and
Yes.
that's where the Thanos copter comes from.
Oh no, that's how that happened.
Yeah, yeah, it was a writer who had no fucking clue, didn't intend to care about the character.
I'm gonna bring this back to Tarantino in a second, but that
I'm
reminds
gonna
me
bring this
of
back when we talk about Superman because I've got a lot to say in
okay,
regards to not intending to care about characters.
okay. Matter of fact, I'll hold
Um,
my point to the Superman point
but
later.
yeah, that was the only time Marvel ever snafu'd with Thanos. So if you're like striking that from the Thanos board, he's a terrifying villain,
Okay, fair enough.
but
But
not as
yeah, back to
terrifying as
Tarantino.
Hans Landa.
Okay, I mean, you can't argue with a Nazi that was created by Tarantino and he was played by Christoph. Um, I
Christoph
fumbled his
Waltz.
last name. It's Waltz, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for now, I think I'm going to agree with you on that. If I come up with anything else, that'll be brought up in the beginning of next episode.
You let me know if you
Hmm.
can find or think of a movie villain that is scarier than Colonel Hans Landa. Please
Scary or menacing? I
tell
can't
me
think of one on
because
the spot.
I've seen a shitload of movies and I haven't found one.
Okay, I got you. And I mean, that doesn't include horror, does it?
No, that does include horror. Yeah, it
So you
does.
got him over Michael Myers?
Oh, look, look, man, look. Halloween's a classic horror series, but in the first movie when he's driving around in broad daylight in that mask and suit and nobody thinks that's weird at all.
Uh,
It's not like Michael Myers has like a stellar history here. And slasher villains are scary, don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but it's a different kind of scary
Hmm.
and in a lot of cases jump scare dependent.
Hmm.
Hans Landa is psychological horror.
Okay, so
It's
some
it's
that
it's
come.
the kind it's the kind of scary where like just looking at the dude
Hmm.
makes you uncomfortable, uneasy, and afraid. It's not because he's gonna run after you with a huge ass knife. It's not because he's loud and slasher scary. It's because he is pure goddamn evil.
Okay, so for a quick tangent exercise, because I'm very interested in this, I looked it up on my other monitor, and he popped up in the image, like like the little montage image they have at the top of these articles. So I'm going to ask you, and I already know where the answer is going, but just to entertain the audience. So you got Hans over Voldemort?
Full disclosure,
Hmm.
even leaving the controversies with J.K. Rowling aside,
Hmm.
I'm not really a Harry Potter fan.
You know what, Dan? Can I add on to that?
Sure.
I actually am well versed in Harry Potter.
Oh no, I'm well versed in it. I've read all of the books.
Yeah,
Just to say that I had, like, just to say, oh, I know all the stuff
yeah.
about this now. Wasn't impressed.
It's not so I'm probably a little higher on it than you, but it's not a favorite of mine. And I know it pretty well. I appreciate the world building but like the story itself, like the main story, the meat and bones. Like if you don't care about the world building or anything else, I'm
I
not that interested in the protagonist.
I agree with you on that. I would say, looking at it objectively, I would say that the world building is where the Harry Potter series succeeded the most,
Hmm.
and the actual characters and story, they just didn't grip me. And to be fair, at the time, growing up when those books were, exploding,
Hmm.
I was reading stuff like Discworld and Artemis Fowl. Like I
Okay.
had other stuff that was really doing it for me. That's when I was also really getting into like Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide and stuff like that.
Fair.
So I did not have a shortage of compelling stories to engage me, and Harry Potter just missed me.
That's fair. Okay. Xenomorph,
Depending on what movie you're talking
the
about,
first one.
depending on what movie you're talking about, xenomorphs are either terrifying or borderline funny. And
Okay.
again, though, it's a different kind of scary.
Yeah.
They're slasher villain scary.
Yeah,
And
I'm going to compare them to more human characters.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, right?
Hmm.
In some of those movies, goddamn terrifying, but it's a different kind.
You know what scared me growing up? Not like scared me like I was scared to go to the bathroom, But I'm just like, dang, they're really stuck.
Is that
Both Terminators, well, I say like there's not 10 now, but the first two, like,
the first Terminator is a slasher film, and I'll die on that hill.
I'm with you. It's a
The
sci-fi
second
slasher.
one, the second one is my favorite James Cameron movie.
Hmm.
Um, and it's more of like a straight up action film. But the first Terminator film, where there's a robot chasing after them for the whole
Hmm.
goddamn movie, no protector, nothing, just a robot trying to kill a woman from start to finish. It's a slasher film,
And there's
especially the
like
final sequence.
casualties on the way. I agree with you. Never thought too hard on it, but it's just, yeah, well,
It
I'm
hits
with
all the
that.
tropes.
Um, I'm scrolling through a list because I have no one in my. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these people they're naming, and I'm going to put Hans over them because like Hans Gruber makes the cut, but he wasn't scary to me. He was like
Han,
menacing.
Han, look, I love Alan Rickman. Such a phenomenal actor. Hans Gruber is not scary. Hans Gruber's menacing, but he's
Yeah,
not scary.
they got Joker from the Dark Knight.
Absolutely not. Not again, menacing, not scary. I was never scared of the Joker. I was like, oh, he's a bastard. Batman's gonna beat the shit out of him at some point.
Yeah, and when he
He's
did things, it was just like, oh, all right, I didn't.
very Joker like. I
Yeah.
approve. Good job. But I was never scared of the Joker.
See, I never watched No Country for Old Men, so I don't know. I know that's a movie people love,
I
but I
love
didn't
that
watch it.
movie. I would not say that the villain in that movie is again menacing, not
Okay, I got
terrifying.
one for you. I think you might see this coming. That I was gonna bring him up. Hannibal Lecter.
So Hannibal Lecter, I feel like that's a better one-to-one comparison because Hannibal Lecter is scary in
Hmm.
that same way. Hannibal Lecter is terrifying. You look at Hannibal Lecter and it makes you uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It makes you uneasy, but only in Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
In the rest of the films, wildly different dynamic, and
Hmm.
I haven't seen the TV series yet, but I hear it's amazing, and I hear that Mads Mikkelsen is phenomenal in the role, and I don't doubt it because he's incredible. But if we're just going off of Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter,
Hmm.
I would put him up there, but not higher than Hans Landa
Hmm.
because it wasn't as consistent.
Okay.
There were moments,
Hmm.
of course, where you're like, oh my god, this dude's horrifying. But there were also moments, part of his, as there were moments with Hans Landa where he was charming and charismatic and stuff like that, but it was way more subdued
Hmm.
with Hannibal Lecter because it had to be because his bullshit was taking a back seat to the hunt for Buffalo Bill.
Right. Okay.
But Hans Landa's front and center.
Hmm.
He's the character that the film revolves around.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's get to some. Let's talk about some of his other movies real quick. How'd you feel about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Did I say it right?
So good. That movie is so goddamn good. Um, so similar to Inglorious Bastards, and
Hmm.
Tarantino talks about this in interviews where he's like, the real magic of film is you can do whatever the hell you want, right?
Hmm.
Hitler didn't die in some theater that burned down in whatever year in whatever part of Germany as
Hmm.
was depicted in Inglorious Bastards. But in that movie he did, and it was a really cool moment, and it was, cool to pretend like that happened for a minute because it was
Hmm.
really goddamn satisfying. Sharon Tate didn't get to live in real life,
Hmm.
but in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood she did, and in a really satisfying way, right?
Hmm.
It's not revising history. It's giving you a window into what could have been, what could have happened. Here's how this could have gone if things were a little bit different. And the fact that, especially from someone like Tarantino, who's known for his wheelhouse being in the grim dark and the gritty and the,
Hmm.
muck and grime and dirt, for him to have put out a movie that by the end leaves you feeling upbeat and hopeful. Oh my god. And Inglorious Bastards does that too. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I would argue in a different way on a different level leaves you feeling really goddamn satisfied and happy
Hmm.
at the end of the movie. And the world needs more of that right now. And that I'm going to talk about that when we get to Superman.
Okay.
And
Um.
and I just spent a whole lot of time talking about the punchline of that movie, the movie as a whole, the
Hmm.
way that it sets up, the way that it pieces together, the way that every little detail arrives piece by piece by piece, bit by bit, and builds. And for like 2/3 of the movie, you're like, this is cool, but I have no fucking idea where this is going. And then it starts to roll, and you're like, oh God, here we go.
Hmm.
It's masterful. Quentin Tarantino spends the first hour and a half of that movie just like dropping Lego bricks on the ground in front of you, and then in the
Hmm.
span of 10 minutes, puts the whole set together in a way that you're like,
I agree.
oh my God.
'Cause I had no idea where I was going.
Yeah.
Like I was
And you're
enjoying it.
not
Don't get me
supposed to.
wrong, but I didn't get the point.
And you're not supposed to know. You're
I,
supposed to sit there and go, oh, well, this is a neat little slice of life thing. And then, yeah,
yeah, that was very interesting. Like that actually taught me. Like it's not that I haven't seen it before, but I don't think I've seen it for that long before.
yeah,
Yeah, I might be honest. I don't think I've seen that before. I'm sure it exists because there's so many movies these days. But that was new to me, but I did enjoy every piece of it.
same.
So
And the cast, right? Like Brad Pitt,
mhm.
Brad Pitt in that movie. Oh God, so good. And Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, but I like Brad Pitt's character
Yeah,
really stood out to me. The range and the depth
yeah.
that he put into that role.
What was he again in that movie? He was a stunt person.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, um, there's an old cartoon that
Hmm.
I don't know if you would recall or not. You probably do. I hope that you do. Otherwise, I'm gonna rely on the audience for this analogy. But it's Johnny Quest.
I remember Johnny Quest,
Hell yeah,
the
and the Real
original and
Adventures
the
of Johnny
remake.
Quest. Brad Pitt's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood reminds me of Race Bannon in Johnny Quest.
Ah, okay. Side note for the audience: if you're too young to know Johnny Quest or you didn't have cable or whatever, think of Venture Brothers. That's what they're.
Rock
That's the
Sampson.
yeah. It's a parody of that.
Yep.
Um. Okay, I can see that. I feel like yeah, that makes sense. Because Johnny Quest is like what 60s, 70s.
Yep. Hmm.
So yeah, Tarantino would enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
So I had a question, but my dog messing me up. Give me 1 second.
No
So,
worries. They do that.
so how'd you feel about the Bruce Lee thing?
That is the only part of the movie, the only part of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that I would, to any degree, argue that didn't need to be in there. But because it had no bearing on the overall story,
Mhm,
it had no bearing on the bottom line of the film
mhm.
other than to establish that Brad Pitt's character could hold his own in a fight really well.
Right. Okay.
So it didn't need to be Bruce Lee,
Mhm.
right? It could have just been any martial
But
artist.
I
It
think that
didn't.
makes it a period piece, even in a stronger way.
Yes, that's my point.
Mhm,
That is what I'm driving at here. Is it didn't need to be there, but the
mhm.
fact that it was made it better,
Okay.
in my opinion.
If I
Fact,
was
the
going
fact
to
that
nitpick and do
the
that
fact
thing
that Bruce
where,
Lee in some way had some sort of mention, nod, or
mhm.
cameo there,
Yeah,
cool as hell.
if I'm going to play um couch director and redo it, I think I have it to where it's more. If I can find a way to make it look more even, because it just threw me off to see him get beat up.
So look, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. I am
Hmm.
lifelong. I have 15 years of martial arts experience. I look up
Hmm.
to Bruce Lee and his philosophy in huge, huge ways. Right.
Hmm.
Um, it is not inconceivable
Hmm.
that somebody of Brad Pitt's height, weight,
Was he
build,
like 6'2"?
yeah,
And Bruce Lee's like what, 5'8", if
yeah,
even?
not inconceivable that
Hmm.
somebody of that size and build and etc. would be able to hold their own against Bruce Lee. I'm not saying that it
Right.
happened. I'm not saying that it's probable.
Yeah, yeah,
Bruce
yeah.
Lee was an ass kicking machine and knocked down everybody in his path.
Yeah.
But this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning.
So,
The magic of movies
mhm.
is that you can do whatever the hell you want.
So okay,
And
question, and
and
again, it is a
inventing an
nitpick.
American who was able to hold his own against Bruce Lee
Mhm.
was part of that.
So, and that's the thing. I tell my friends, like my friends who aren't into martial arts, if I was to say who will win a fight, Mike Tyson or Bruce Lee, they're automatically gonna say Bruce Lee and make up things that aren't real in favor of Bruce Lee. And I'm not saying Mike Tyson would automatically win or lose. That's not my point here. It's more the fact that they don't even take into the fact that Mike Tyson is actually, I'm talking about prime Mike Tyson, obviously. The
Sure.
fact that he's big, they'll just say things like, "Oh, Bruce Lee can hit your pressure points." I'm like, well, that's not what he did.
No, it's not. I would give that fight to Bruce Lee, but
Mhm.
with the caveat that it would need to be, you know, an open setting fight.
Sure,
It would need to be a martial arts match. Bruce Lee would take that.
I
If
agree.
if it was a boxing match,
Mhm.
Tyson all the way.
Okay, I don't, but the my bigger point to that was to say that I'm not one of those people that just think is a wash when it comes to Bruce Lee because of the people like familiarity, they like names. So I guess my point was more that accomplished martial artist probably can take another accomplished martial artist. It's just that it looked like he got washed. Or am I remembering that wrong? Because I watched that movie close to when it was new.
No, he didn't get washed.
Okay.
So like I would say it was closer to even.
Okay.
What happened was Bruce Lee, the character,
Hmm.
scored the first like hit in the fight,
Oh, okay.
and then Brad Pitt's character got one in return.
Hmm.
And then on the third exchange, they ended up in some sort of grapple where then Brad Pitt's character threw him into a car door,
That's what I remember.
and then that was it. Like the director
Oh,
showed up,
then
and they
that's
were
not
like, "You guys
bad.
got to stop."
Okay, I'm fine with that then. I remember, I think because I only remembered the car door, I think when I rewrote it in my head, I'm like, oh man, Bruce Lee got trash.
No,
But no,
no,
okay, that's fine.
it was. I'm not gonna say it was totally even, but it was.
But
He didn't get washed.
yeah, yeah, that's fine then. That's like my thing is that in martial arts, if someone else is trained and just less of a name, I don't think names win fights. So I'm fine with that.
No, though again, Bruce Lee's track record was incredible. As
Hmm.
an example, Bruce Lee didn't just wash Chuck Norris in film when they
Hmm.
met on like the actual fighting circuits.
Hmm.
Destroyed him.
Okay, I'm good with that then. And I know Bruce Lee's, before the Jeet Kune Do thing, is originally kung fu, right?
Jeet Kune Do is not actually a fighting style
No, no, I'm saying before he
in
founded
and of
that,
itself. So
I'm saying Bruce Lee, his background is kung fu, right?
yes,
And what's Chuck Norris's background?
Taekwondo.
Got it. Okay, okay, that makes
Um,
sense now. That makes
but
sense.
Jeet Kune Do is not like Bruce Lee didn't create a fighting style.
Hmm.
Bruce Lee created a platform whereupon one can discover the fighting style or combination thereof that works best for them. Jeet Kune Do is a philosophy that espouses fluidity and comfortability in your
Right.
movements and in what you do in
And
not just in fights but in life, in the
yeah,
study of martial arts and in the pursuit of balance.
in the martial arts sense, like it encourages like making hybrids that are comfortable for yourself, right?
If that's your thing. Like
Okay.
certain people find one style that just works great for
Works.
them and that's their thing. Like Ed Parker when he was founds Kenpo.
Hmm.
created an entire variation of it that uh, it was just his,
Mm-hmm.
and founded American Kenpo. And now there are American Kenpo schools all throughout this country.
Okay.
And other people, yeah, mix and match styles that suit them. And but that's what Jeet Kune Do is it's do what works best for you,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you are free and fluid in what you do.
Got it. Okay. Is there any other Tarantino movies? Oh, I want to talk about him as a director and him as a critic, which
Sure.
is how I started looking into stuff way more. For him to be this accomplished as not only a creative, but like obviously his movies make money. He's not the film snob you think he'd be.
No, no, the
Like,
dude watches goddamn everything.
yeah, and he's appreciative of things. Whereas James Cameron looks at Marvel and without watching it, he's just like, oh gosh, why would I do that?
And is so much worse off for it. I haven't I what Give me 1 second to pull this up just so
Yep.
I'm not
While you're pulling it up, I'll say that I was listening to a
misspeaking here.
podcast. Are you familiar with Tony Scott?
Yes.
He was he was giving Tony Scott his flowers, R.I.P. I think he died in his last movie was the movie The Train. Um Invincible? What's it called? What's it called? Invincible? It was the movie when Denzel Washington and Chris Pine were trying to stop the train audience. But
That sounds familiar.
Tony Scott made the kind of movies. I think he did the movie with Eddie Murphy's a cop. Um Axel Foley.
Yeah, yeah, Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills. Yeah. So Tony Scott was good at doing the filmy things, but it was still commercial enough. It was like a good balance.
Yes. So I found it.
Okay.
I was gonna say there are exactly three James Cameron films that I enjoy
Okay.
out of
Exactly 3. Like no more, no
exactly
less.
three, no more than
Okay.
three out of everything he's ever done. That's Terminator 1,
Hmm.
Terminator 2, and Aliens.
Oh, he did Aliens.
And the rest of everything he's ever made has bored me to tears.
So Aliens is the sequel, like the second one.
Correct.
And Ridley Scott did the first one. Okay. It's funny how that goes full circle.
So
Um, okay.
I hate Titanic. Can't stand Avatar. Those movies are just so self-important and up their own asses. And like for for their director, and I've seen the interviews that you're referencing. I know what you're talking about. For their director to then thumb his nose up at the superhero film genre, it's like, dude,
Hmm.
pots and kettles, man.
And it's funny because he has typical Hollywood tropes in
Yeah,
his movies.
he is a Hollywood director, and
He's not that deep. It'd be one thing if it was like that guy who does like the film festival movies from the
oh
2000s.
no, I don't mean that he's like an effective Hollywood director. I mean he's a cookie cutter ass,
Oh yeah, that's where I'm going.
by the
Yeah,
numbers.
that's what I meant.
Here's a James Cameron movie for you, and I'm so tired of it.
It's like, yeah, and like, I mean, I'm not as down on Avatar as you are. I mean, I can't say I'm up or down on it. I don't remember it. I don't remember the first one,
That's a
so
good sign.
I watched the second one in theaters,
I'm
and
sorry.
it wasn't like it wasn't bad, but the points were on the nose. Like, I think it's a good intro to um if you're not a movie person and you're not into movies, you just want to have a good time. You watch Avatar 2, it's like a good intro into oh, the parallels exist in movies. But for like anyone else, it's whatever.
Yeah, it was really whatever for me.
Um oh yeah, so it's for to come from James Cameron, it's like, all right, whatever. Had it been somebody else, again, I don't have to agree with your points. If you just explain your points
Oh,
when it comes to
here's a great example of that. Actually,
mhm.
a director actually worth a damn who criticizes the superhero genre. Martin Scorsese, right? Martin Scorsese
Well,
has
he does it
made
right. I get him.
incredible goddamn films.
Mhm.
Some of my favorite movies I've ever seen. and he's still wrong about superhero movies. He's just at this point he's just an old blowhard who's up his own ass and like totally missing the mark with his assessment on the MCU and superhero films, but legitimately has made some of the best movies of all time. Wolf of Wall Street,
Mhm.
and just
But in
garbage.
his defense, he did say he tried them,
Yeah, no, he did watch them, and he just doesn't like them. Which it look,
and he
everybody's
said
allowed their
nice things about them, even though it was backhanded.
everybody's allowed their own opinions, and I'm not saying he has to like them,
That's
but
where I'm at too.
for him to say like they have no merit or value and they're damaging the film industry, he's wrong.
Okay. Wait. This did Martin say this?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I missed that part then.
yeah, but the dude did. I just pulled up the list because I knew I was gonna miss some unless I did. He did Taxi Driver, A
Mhm,
Raging Bull, Goodfellas,
mhm.
Casino, Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, The Irishman, and I still haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon. I need to, but like seriously, some of the
Mhm.
greatest films of all time, and you can still be wrong.
Okay. I agree with that. I mean, at least at least I guess he gave it a try. He gave an opinion I don't agree with. He even said things like they're well made, but the other parts of I didn't agree. Like the other parts of his quote, and
Yeah.
those are parts that matter to me anyway. Like saying they're not cinema. It's like, I don't know about
That
that.
was it. That was the exact wording when he was like, "Oh, they're not cinema." Yes, they are. Maybe not Eternals, but like just because they're not your kind of cinema, bro, doesn't mean they're
Yeah.
not cinema.
It's funny, and people attack Marvel movies because they're popular. Because it's like we sat through Transformers being a thing, and no one really.
I mean, I sat through one
Oh,
and
did
two
he do Heat?
Transformers movies. I didn't. I sure as hell didn't sit through all of them.
Did he do the Marshall Scorsese do Heat?
Did he?
Uh, um, my boy in the audience
I
said that
I
he did Heat.
I love Heat. Did he do Heat? No, that was Michael Mann.
Oh, okay.
But Heat, if we're talking about greatest movies of all time, and you know, two of my other favorite actors of all time, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino,
Hmm.
Heat. If I don't know if you've seen it or not, but that movie
I
is
watched it a long time ago. I had the VHS, but
that
I'm going to
movie
rewatch it as an adult.
is on a whole other goddamn level. It is what the hell's the runtime here? 170 minutes long, so almost three
Oh,
hours,
I could do it.
and you'll thank yourself for it. Like it unbelievable.
I'm gonna
Grand
put it on
Theft
my list
Auto
right now.
5
Ooh,
takes a lot of influence in its story and characters from Heat.
okay,
Franklin,
I've
Trevor,
heard
and
that.
Michael are all directly based on characters from Heat. Michael is based on Robert De Niro's character.
Right.
Franklin
I
is based on oh, what the hell's the actor's name? But he's the cook who's like the getaway driver, and
ah
Trevor is based on the villain. And
okay. I'm putting that on my movie list right now.
just
Heat.
it's so good.
Um. Okay. So, do we want to move on to Superman, or is there anything else we have to do with Tarantino?
I mean, I could talk about Tarantino forever. We didn't even touch Kill Bill. God damn.
Oh, I didn't even think of Kill Bill. Oh shoot.
Yeah,
Okay, let's talk about Kill Bill for a couple minutes.
sure. I'm game. Speaking of Bruce Lee,
um, damn, Kill Bill. That like
and
where am I?
Reservoir Dogs.
Wait, what?
And Reservoir Dogs. We didn't even bring up Reservoir Dogs.
I gotta be honest to the audience. I never watched that one.
Oh dear.
I'm gonna put that on my list
That's
right
your next
now.
movie. Even before Heat, you gotta
Yeah,
watch Reservoir Dogs. That movie's insane, dude.
I'll put it's on my list.
Hell yeah.
I'll start it tonight. Um, Kill Bill. Isn't it crazy that's supposed to be one movie?
Is it? Is it that crazy? Because we've got like the Lord of the Rings extended editions.
Yeah, yeah, when you put it that way.
Yeah, when I put it that way, watching both movies back to back doesn't seem like that big of a chore, does it?
No. Yeah, I mean, in capitalist ways, it worked out better for them. That was two movies.
Yeah, yeah, it pulled in an assload of money and
Mhm.
deservedly so. Those movies rule.
So, what was your favorite thing about Kill Bill for you?
My
Did you watch it
favorite.
when it was new? Because we were younger when it came out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think I saw. No, I didn't. I didn't see them in theaters, but I saw them, at home.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I'm sure that my answer about what my favorite part of Kill Bill is probably the same as anybody else's, and it's just Uma Thurman kicking ass.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn cool. The just two of the, well, technically one, but released as two of the best action movies ever. They're so perfectly paced,
Mhm.
filmed, choreographed, executed. The story isn't any deeper than it really needs to be. The focus is on the characters and how cool they are. Fucking Gogo Yubari. Oh my god. And at the end of it, you know what's coming. You're ready
Yeah.
for it and it happens and you're like, "Hell yeah."
So, okay.
That is the least
Mhm.
deep Quentin Tarantino movie and also the most fun.
I'm with that. And it's fun, but it doesn't feel like it's not like super dumb fun. It's just
Oh, it's
not overly deep.
right. None of his movies are dumb. It's not
Mhm.
that it's like you don't have to think about it. It's just, it's not Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah. So, are you for the idea of a Kill Bill 3 or Kill Bill spin-off movie? I don't know. What was that
I'm
for you?
not I'm not for the idea of a sequel. I don't think there needs to be a sequel. I feel like a prequel could work,
Okay.
but I don't think we need a sequel.
So you're not for Vivica A. Fox's daughter coming back for revenge?
No, I don't I
Okay.
don't think that needs to happen. I like that that's open ended actually.
Mhm.
Um but I feel like a prequel could be cool there.
Seeing how they were getting down before, and then okay. So
Yep.
if it's a prequel, does it take place as strictly a film, or is that a miniseries for you?
No, I think a film.
Okay.
Tarantino doesn't deal in
Yeah, I think that's a whole different
television.
craft.
I feel like it's a film, and I feel like the bride is played by Anya Taylor Joy,
Okay.
like everything else these days. But I feel like she'd kill it in the role.
So my other question will be, how far back in the past from Kill Bill would it be?
Good question, and to tack onto that with the nonlinear storytelling that would obviously be part of it. Uh, would that element of it be clear up front, or would you have to piece that together yourself as it goes along?
Hmm.
Either way, I mean, well, I guess not either way, but if it were non-linear and that was something you were meant to like think about as the movie goes on, I'd be fine with it.
Okay. So are all his movies, what's the lowest score his movie, like out of 10? What's the lowest score his movies ever been for you?
Oh, for me, I thought you meant like on Rotten
Yeah,
Tomatoes or
nah.
whatever. I was like, I don't
Because it's
know.
hard to go off other people's opinions. It's like whatever.
What are you're asking me what my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie is? It's
That's like
like
picking your least favorite piece of gold.
yeah, what's my least favorite Final Fantasy VII character and why is it Kate Sith? But uh shit, I'm gonna have to look at his filmography and just like so it's definitely not Reservoir Dogs.
Okay. The one I
Thank you,
have to watch.
Carmen. It's definitely not Reservoir Dogs. It's definitely not Pulp Fiction.
Mhm.
Definitely not Jackie Brown. That movie is fucking awesome. Uh Not Kill Bill. It might be the Hateful Eight.
That's the fair one.
It might be the Hateful Eight.
What would
I
you score it
can't
out of 10?
I can't say that it's death proof because he wasn't the director for that. I think he was only the producer for that.
Okay.
Um,
What movie is that? Death Proof?
yeah,
I don't think he directed that. If I'm
yeah,
going.
and I like the Hateful Eight. Right? It's still a phenomenal movie. It's still a Quentin Tarantino
Oh,
as
he did
Quentin
direct Death
Tarantino
Proof.
movie, but I think that and the cast is awesome too. You know, I love Walton Goggins in that movie in particular, but I feel like the Hateful Eight, as opposed to the rest of what he did, which everything is just so wildly different from each other. Every new
Mhm.
Tarantino film is a different experience from the last one as you're going
Mhm.
through his movies. I feel like the Hateful Eight, he was still in the headspace of Django.
Okay.
And it's not a bad thing that
Mhm.
there are many similarities and parallels between those movies. It doesn't drag the film down in any way. But if I'm going to throw a dart
Mhm.
at any Quentin Tarantino film and say I'm going to take any kind of points off for anything,
Mhm.
I'm going to do it with that. You know, with the Hateful Eight, and say like in some ways it felt to me like an extension of Django and not, you know, the same kind of departure from previous that the literal rest of his movies are. And it's still an 8.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Oh, I don't know if you heard me, but he did direct Death Proof.
Did he?
Yeah. So would that be lower than Hateful Eight for
Why
you?
the hell did I think otherwise? What the
Because it was supposed to be a double
I'm
feature with
thinking of Sin
Grindhouse.
City.
Say again?
I'm thinking of Sin City.
You might be, because I don't think he did that at all.
No, I want to say he was like the guest producer for Sin
Yes,
City.
something like that. I think he even appeared for a second in it, right?
Yes, yeah,
And he's
um,
friends with Robert Rodriguez. They're
yeah,
like tight. So give me a second. There's a reason why. That's give me 2 seconds. Okay, so Quentin Tarantino had a small thing that I, oh, they gave him like a credit on it, but it wasn't like his thing.
yeah,
So I guess he was kind of like a producer
yeah.
on Sin City.
And looking at his discography, it looks like there were a few movies that were like that for him. But
Okay.
no, it's not Death Proof, because Death Proof is still crazy goddamn different from everything else he ever did.
Hmm.
It's still, you know, insular. It's still its own thing. Hateful Eight is the only one that like I can point at another one of his movies and go, well, it's pretty similar in a few ways to this.
Hmm.
And not the other way around, and not just because Django came first, but Django did a whole lot for film. It's an incredible movie, and like stands on its own above the Hateful Eight, and as far as movies go, regardless of the timing of release.
Hmm.
So even if Django had come out second, I would be comparing the Hateful Eight to Django as like, this one isn't as good.
Okay.
It's still fucking awesome. Everybody should see the Hateful Eight, with the caveat that you're going to be really uncomfortable for a lot of the movie, and you're supposed to be.
Isn't that a
But
Tarantino movie?
it, even as a Tarantino movie, I think the Hateful Eight.
Hmm.
And I remember hearing like him or reading him talk about this when that movie came out, where it was like he's like, yeah, no, this is the one where I just wanted to go all out with that on
Hmm.
this. Like, there's a lot in that movie that you're gonna watch and be like, this is gross, and it's supposed to be.
Okay.
But as a movie, uh, I would say it's my least favorite Tarantino film, but I
Hmm.
still love it. It's still an 8.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
What about you? What's your least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie?
I mean, it is Hateful Eight.
There
Um,
you go.
um, n- because his movies, like, I'll even with me, even if it's a movie I don't like in quotations, I can see the artistry in it.
Yep.
So I don't think he'll ever make a bad movie.
No, I don't think he has
It's
it in him.
just there's just other movies that like blew my mind, like in a different way. Like Django, I saw that in theaters in Atlantic City, and that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so this was just like, oh, that was really put together really well, but it wasn't like it didn't hit me the same as the other movies.
Yeah.
Like that's a nitpicky answer, but that's the best I got for such a good director.
And I'm in that same boat with you. And I said it at the beginning of all of this. Like, I guess if I have to pick a least favorite Tarantino film, that's the one. But it's still a great fucking movie.
Okay. Do we want to move on to Superman?
I'm game.
It's one movie that clearly didn't come out yet, so that's probably a shorter topic for y'all.
Yeah, probably.
Um,
By which I mean not at all. I
okay.
can I can talk about Superman and DC and comic books ad nauseum, but
Okay.
I
Sorry, my bad.
I have never in my entire life, because the old Superman movies came out before I was born.
Hmm.
Michael Keaton Batman came out the year I was born.
Okay.
So in my life, I have never been as excited for or happy about a live action DC project as this.
Oh.
I watched the trailer. I think I lost count at like 20 times, and I couldn't for the first week straight. I could not get through that trailer without crying, without
Oh, that
tearing
big for
up.
you.
It it just hits a part of me that I honestly thought was dead and gone for
Was it
like
crypto?
no, it wasn't crypto.
Oh, okay.
And look, crypto's cool, right?
Uh-huh.
I like crypto. I like the cryptos here. That's really freaking cool, especially
Hmm.
because we've never had big screen live action crypto before. That's
Hmm.
awesome. But no, it's not because of crypto. Um, I thought I was done with DC, like done, and
Hmm.
totally moved on and removed from anything that they could do in live action. I didn't think that they had it in them truly to grip me like this movie is. And um we've talked about my adventures with Superman and how
Yes. Great show. I recommend it to
phenomenal
the audience.
a show that is. And how I was saying, like, it gives me hope because it seems like DC intends to care
Hmm.
about Superman's characterization again,
Hmm.
and how he comes off and who he is. And from the trailer, it seems like this movie does that. And even that
Hmm.
is not why. The reason why it makes me cry is because for the first time since the Christopher Reeve films,
Hmm.
I really feel like the character I'm looking at on screen is Superman.
Hmm.
And I don't mean Superman as an icon or an institution. I mean Superman as a feeling,
Hmm.
as an emotion, as hope. The trailer instills hope in me the way that Superman is supposed to, the way that really the reason why Superman even is, the reason why Superman was successful ever,
Hmm.
because he gives people that kind of hope.
Hmm.
I pointed this out to my friends as we were talking about the trailer after it had dropped, but um, there's really brief snippets in
Mm-hmm.
there, one or two, of some action scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by which I mean like fight scenes, battle scenes.
Yes.
In other Superman movies, these were the focus, these were the highlights. Um, Batman versus Superman was about a fight.
Mm-hmm.
The Zack Snyder Superman movie, it all boiled down to Superman versus Zod. That's not what Superman's about, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point of Superman. Superman is not supposed to be this infallible alien god who beats down anything he comes up against.
Yeah.
The cool parts of Superman to me are not when he's fighting against a character like Brainiac or Metallo or Doomsday or Parasite and winning.
Mm-hmm.
The cool part to me is when Superman is in doing what Superman is supposed to do, when Superman is saving and helping people.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the focus. That is the point of Superman's character. There was one scene in that trailer,
Mm-hmm.
exactly one scene in that trailer that got the slowed down bullet time treatment. It was like the focus scene of the trailer, the hey, pay attention to this. This is important.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a fight scene like it would have been in a trailer for Batman versus Superman or for the Zack Snyder Superman. It wasn't any kind of like flashy action scene. It was Superman sliding in and shielding the child from the collapsing building, getting ready to pull her away and out of harm's way. That was the scene that got the bullet time treatment.
Right.
And it made me fucking ugly cry. Because that is Superman. That is what Superman should be.
You know what? I said that on the last episode to my brother-in-law. It wasn't about the movie though, but that's probably why it hit me that way. Because I'm like, if they want to make a good Superman game, we know how to make fighting. We know how to make action in video games. A big part of it should be you slowing down time to save people from buildings and stuff. That should be your health bar.
That exactly. That's the point of him as a character. But I didn't
Mhm.
even mean like the time element as in like time was being slowed so that he could do it. It was like,
No, I knew what you meant. I'm just saying
oh,
that's
okay.
how we should perceive it in the game.
Yes, that would rule.
Hmm.
DC has other characters that the point of them is like that they are ego the character and
Hmm.
they just roll over everything in their way.
Yeah.
Batman is that character. Batman works really well in that capacity. That's what Batman does.
Hmm.
Batman somehow outthinks everybody else, is always ready and beats the shit out of people and
Yeah.
moves on. And the issue that DC had for the longest time as responsible by or rather the powers that be there
Hmm.
being to blame for this, the boardroom execs who all they saw was the bottom line was when the Dark Knight was doing really well, when the Nolanverse films were doing really well, when Batman comics were doing really well, they looked at all of that and said, "Well, this is what people want. We should make all of our characters like Batman."
Hmm.
And that was the beginning of a whole lot of problems for DC and their characters because Batman works really well as Batman. You know who doesn't work really well as Batman? Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash.
Yeah.
They're supposed to, and Aquaman, they're supposed to all be different characters. But when we got around the Justice League, they all just felt like the same goddamn character 7 times over
And everything looked like a dark Batman movie.
because that's what they thought the people wanted. Clearly, it was not what people wanted.
Also, that's what happens when you follow trends because you movies. It's if you follow trends in a movie, that's a risky thing because you're taking time to produce these trends that by the time you made it, they change. And those people who you think you're appeasing don't even exist anymore. Whereas the people like us, we just want them the way they're supposed to be. We're like, why'd you give this to us?
Yep, absolutely. Like even if even if God forbid Superman ever worked in the capacity of being a Batman like character, and
Mhm.
in alternate timelines and alternate universes, there are versions of Superman that do function really well that way. But I'll circle back to that in a bit. But the version or the Earth One Superman, the Superman that all of this concerns, does not. Um, by the time you, even if there's a crowd,
Mhm.
as perceived, that would be played to by putting out a film that revolves around the version of Superman like that. As you
Mhm.
said, the internet's a fickle place, and by the time that movie drops, people forget and move on, and it leaves people like us looking at this like, who was this for?
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
But now, we have a trailer for a Superman movie where there were two spoken lines in the entire trailer.
Mhm.
One of them was crypto, home, take me home.
Mhm.
The other one was the little kid at the border of the terrorist conflict
Yes.
raising a homemade flag built out of scrap metal and wood
Mhm.
to the sky and half whispering Superman's name like a prayer
Mhm.
to come and help them. I can already tell that this movie is going to break my rib cage open with its hands, grab my heart, pull it out, and throw it somewhere the fuck else, and I will thank it for it.
Okay. I mean, I'm with you. It looks like it's gonna be like legit fun, legit good. What was I gonna say? Um, oh, one thing that works about Superman that I feel like they're going to lean into. I don't know how much time they're going to have, but I feel like the supporting cast is going to matter.
Yes. And so, speaking to that,
Hmm.
with there not only being the Lois, Jimmy, Lex Luthor, and oh my God, Nicholas Holt as Lex Luthor, even in the little bit
Hmm.
that we got in the trailer, just his facial tics and the emotion in
Yeah.
that, he's going to be the best Lex Luthor we've ever had. And it's not going to be close. But we have the usual Superman suspect, Ma and Pa Kent on top of those,
Yeah.
juxtaposed with a character we haven't even seen in the trailer yet, Maxwell Lord,
Oh.
and his Justice League, Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl. And people are like, I don't know. This is feeling kind of bloated, too many characters. And at first I was with them. And then I was like, no, this is James Gunn. That's what he does,
Hmm.
right? Guardians, Suicide Squad. He knows how to make the most with large casts.
Yes.
I feel like this is going to work.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, and yeah, they don't got to take up too much space, so and he knows how to do that.
Yeah. I feel like exactly what you said. Maxwell Lord's Justice League will be supporting cast.
Hmm.
I don't I I don't envision a scenario, especially, not with what we've seen so far, where this movie loses sight of the goal.
Hmm.
It's already shown how well it understands the assignment,
Hmm.
and I don't see them taking the spotlight from Superman.
I would have to agree.
And
Is
to that
James
end,
Gunn writing and directing? Or is just directing?
I want to say writing and directing, but I could be wrong. And
Because
either
I do
way,
have I have faith in him as a writer too.
same. And I was
He's
speaking
writing it. He wrote it.
Sweet. And I was speaking with another friend of mine uh, about the movie after the trailer dropped, and he was saying all of that's well and good, but I
Hmm.
really hope that they don't fall into the same pitfall with this that like they did with Suicide Squad. I really hope that the studio gets out of his way and just lets him cook. And I was like, well, they're not going to have a choice. And he's like, why is that? And I'm like, because he's not just the director of this movie. He's the co-CEO
A lot of people don't know that.
of the studio now. He's the
Yeah,
boss. He
yeah,
gets to do whatever the hell he wants.
he's like their Feige basically.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
difference is Feige never steps down to direct.
Yeah. This is just sink or swim. This
Hmm.
is on James Gunn. And
Yeah.
I feel like he's about to hit it out of the park. DC is about to go the hell off.
So when it comes out, would this be your first DCU movie or DCU property you be a part of?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, so Creature Commandos came out. That's the soft launch to the DC. Did you watch that or no?
No, but I did
You
see Blue Beetle, and that's also supposed to be part of it.
got it. Okay.
And I really liked Blue Beetle a
I,
lot
I I
more than I thought I
started
would.
it and I just never forgot to go back. I mean, I never remembered to go back.
I would recommend it. It's really fun.
Okay, I will. I will. Just because I mean I tend to watch all those type of movies just to have an opinion on them to begin with. I just forgot.
I haven't seen Creature Commando yet, but
It's good. I can't tell if you'll like it or not, but from my honest opinion, it was good.
Danny Ritchie,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
who do 3D print stuff, he saw it and he's been telling me about it and he's like, you'd really like it. So
Okay,
I will get around to it.
okay. It's only 7 episodes, half hour maybe. So it's just when you get time.
Yeah. And I pretty soon here I'm gonna be looking to put together my Gambit cosplay, and when I'm doing stuff for that, I'll have that on in the background
Okay,
probably.
is that your next cosplay?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Gambit in the near future, and then for too many games, I'm gonna have Solid Snake together.
Oh, I don't have a game cosplay. I need to look into that. I feel like Spider-Man is kind of cheating.
Not at all. Just do the game version of the suit. And good to go. Or not, right?
I have a game
The
version
game
actually.
had comic book suits in it.
Right. Okay. Then there we go. Save money right there. I got a suit coming out that I'm not going to tell the podcast until. Dang, I wish time could go faster. Um, I got a suit coming
I know
out
that
that
feeling.
on it's on brand with this episode. It's I'll announce it. You know what? I'll probably have you on for that episode. I'll probably just wear it that day.
Sweet.
But
I'll wear my Scarlet Spider.
there we go. But okay, so this movie, it's hard to guess what like how things would hit you, but do you see it being any less than a 7 out of 10?
Oh, score.
Hmm.
Look, I don't like to, especially not with something this
Yeah.
touchy and sensitive,
Hmm.
because this is going to be a really important thing
Yeah,
for
I agree.
DC. I don't like to put
Numbers project.
expectations
Yeah.
on projects like this, but also within the first, I think it was 36 hours,
Hmm.
it became the most viewed trailer in DC history
Yes.
by a landslide.
Yep.
And it's only gone up from there. The entire world is watching to see what becomes of this, and they had to know that going in.
They
Especially James Gunn.
He'll at least do first week numbers.
He's too self-aware.
He's very self-aware. I follow him on Instagram and Threads. He knows what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So, bearing in mind everything I just said, and that I do believe that they finally understand the assignment here,
Hmm.
I would genuinely be shocked if I had some opportunity to talk to a future version of myself that had seen this movie and he told me that it was anything less than a 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's kind of where I'm going. Um, Like for me, worst case scenario is like 8, and I'm fine with 8s.
especially when it comes to DC, because the so far, well, not that it matters anymore because thankfully it's all going to be goddamn retcons, but the previous DCEU,
Mm-hmm.
the movie that I consider to be the best movie in that entire span,
Mm-hmm.
Shazam,
Okay.
I would put it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. I'm fine with Shazam. There's things that didn't work for me in it. Um, but like that's me as a
Well,
critic.
there's things that didn't work for me in it too, which is why it's an 8 out of 10. But
Yeah.
I still believe it to be the best part of the previous DCEU.
Got you. See, I don't know what my best DC movie is. See, I'm a Wonder Woman person, I think.
And Wonder Woman's very good.
Hmm.
And if not for how they depicted Ares, it would be
Hmm.
up there with Shazam for me.
Okay. Um. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just happy that they're restarting this. It's a shame they had to waste people like ideas, but I mean, it's not a waste because it's gonna get retconned. We're gonna see our characters again soon,
Yeah.
and sometimes like they had to mess up badly to give us something we love, apparently, or something we may love, I should say.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it took them long enough to get here, but I feel like for the first time, maybe ever,
Hmm.
they have a real opportunity in front of them to finally translate this most important of characters from the pages to the big screen and stick the landing.
You know what's really crazy?
Because DC as a universe, Batman may be their best seller. He may
Hmm.
be their most popular character. But DC as a universe does not work without Superman as an anchor point.
I think I have to agree with that. And I try to tell people that don't know better. They're like, "Oh no, I don't see it. Why I see it important?" I'm like, "That's because you're not really in the mix, or they're in their 20s, so they just know the new world of Marvel being the main thing. Whereas we grew up with you could like DC and Marvel, but this new world is like, why would you like DC? And I get it, I get it. So this is gonna show how DC has something to show too.
Oh, and speaking for a moment because I meant to bring this up
Hmm.
earlier with Maxwell Lord's Justice League and the supporting characters and everything. The biggest indicator so far that there's no intention there for them to like even stand on even. Oh, and Mr. Terrific too. I only brought up Guy and Hawkgirl, but Mr. Terrific is one of them as well.
I think he's gonna be the one that gets the most screen time.
Probably and deservedly so. But um the biggest indicator so far that they're not going to overshadow Superman is Guy Gardner and his depiction.
Hmm.
There are a whole lot of people on the internet right now complaining about his bowl cut,
That's the
but
thing.
it's comic accurate.
Yes.
And it is. That's for the longest time how he was depicted with a bowl cut. He
Yeah.
didn't get the like edgy little barely there faux hawk flippy thing until the 2000s.
Okay.
And something I thought was really hilarious. I'd have to go find the dude's name. I forget what it was, but the guy who drew his Justice League run,
Hmm.
the guy who is essentially responsible for the bread and butter foundational depiction of Guy Gardner,
Yes.
posted a still from the trailer with him with the bowl cut, and the caption was, "Yeah, that looks like something I would draw." So,
Oh yeah, I did see that. I did see that.
so to all the people out there complaining, the powers that be are not on your side. But I digress.
Yeah, I did see that.
Even more than the bowl cut, though that goes hand in hand with what I'm about to say,
Hmm.
Nathan Fillion's facial expressions as Guy Gardner, nail
Yeah.
on the head. because Guy is a character through that at different points through his publication history, DC has
Hmm.
had no idea what to do with. That's how we got Warrior Guy Gardner when they were looking to separate him from the Green Lantern Corps and give him his own identity, and then that didn't really work out. That's why he's been a part of not just the Green Lantern Corps, but so many others as well
Hmm.
when they were trying to find something for him to do that would
See
stick
what
in the wake
sticks.
of the Sinestro Corps War and
Yeah.
present day and so on and so forth. But when Guy Gardner, when they do know what to do with Guy Gardner, when he has his own identity front and center,
Hmm.
he's an annoying asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
That's how
mean
I see
that
him.
very lovingly because he's a great character.
Hmm.
He's an awesome character and he always has been. But the dude is, he's like a school bully with superpowers.
Yeah.
And Nathan Fillion's facial expressions as him, even in the little bit that we got in that trailer, came off to me like a Saturday morning cartoon. Why I oughta Fred Flintstone type ass,
Yeah. Like, did you ever
and it's
see?
perfect.
Did you ever see? What's this called? Is a cartoon Batman Brave and the Bold?
Yeah, and guys in it.
Yeah, he's in it. That was a good for me. That was a good way for people who didn't read the comics to understand how he is.
Yeah, yep. Guy Gardner is the Flash Thompson of DC,
Hmm.
but with superpowers. And I'm not. I know about Agent Venom. Yeah. We can get into that in a separate discussion.
But he was already humble by then.
For the most part, Flash didn't have superpowers.
Yeah, but I'm saying by the time he had Venom, he was already like
Yeah. Oh yeah,
mature.
and Agent Venom's a great character. But circling back around to what I was saying, the
Yeah.
biggest indicator to me that these characters are not going to overshadow Superman is not only are they nailing Superman's characterization, they're
Hmm.
nailing the characterization of everybody else involved here too.
Hmm.
And when I look at Guy Gardner and how he already is, Hawker
Hmm.
on how she already is, Mr. Terrific and all, and how he already is, they look ready to settle into those classic supporting Justice League roles
Yes.
and be what they need to be, not necessarily beside Superman, but slightly behind him as well, ready to support him. I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm ready for it. When's it coming out again? I'm so bad with dates.
It's coming out 2 days before my birthday.
I don't remember your birthday, Dan.
Oh damn! Well, my birthday is July 13th, and it's coming out July 11th,
Wait,
and
July 13th.
I'm taking that whole day off
I'm putting that in my
because
calendar now.
it's a Friday, and I've got an emo night that night, and I'm just gonna go see it in theaters during the day with whoever wants to come, and it's gonna be freaking awesome.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get a Superman shirt for that.
Hell yeah!
I know. I wish you happy birthday last year. Usually when I do that, it adds it to my calendar automatically.
I'm terrible with dates. If not for Facebook, I would never know when anyone's birthday was.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, I've leaned on that a lot, so I never had to.
There you go. There's my number one use for Facebook is it tells me when people's birthdays are.
That's fair. Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to circle back. Yeah. Tells me birthdays. Um, for audience members that don't know, half my family lives in Liberia, so I get to interact with them. And I guess I see people celebrate their birthdays and graduations and whatever. That's the main reason for Facebook. And
Yeah,
I guess some of y'all watching me on there right now, so there's that.
hell yeah. So,
Okay.
going back to what I was saying earlier, the topic that I wanted to bring up with Superman in regards to formalism, going
Hmm.
all the way back to when I mentioned this with Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson's movies are movie ass movies. They are bright, they
Hmm.
are colorful, They are movies in the grand and classic tradition
Yes.
of Hollywood movies.
Mhm.
The characters are stylized, they're over the top,
Mhm.
they fit into clear defined roles,
Mhm.
tropes even. But in that way, it's refreshing because nobody's really making movies like that anymore other
Yeah.
than Wes Anderson. This Superman movie is going to be a formalist Superman movie. It's a Superman ass Superman movie. The
Mhm.
characters are stylized, they're tropey, they're campy, they're
Mhm.
fun. They are what DC was back in their heyday
Yeah.
when people loved them for it. And that's it, man. They're bringing everything back to their roots.
I think it'll be campy with balance.
Oh, oh, for sure. It's not going to be like Challenge of the Super Friends,
Yeah.
campy, but it's going to be Superman is a big, lovable
Mhm.
farm boy from Kansas in blue spandex with his drawers
Yeah.
on the outside. Here we go.
So he's gonna be like I imagine him, he's gonna be like a more I don't think you watched the show, was gonna be like a more realistic character from Ted Lasso.
I haven't seen Ted Lasso yet,
Mhm.
but it's on my list.
You'll love
I
it,
keep hearing
especially
great
since you
things
like
about it.
it's a positive show, like, it's a very uplifting show. You'll like it. You'll probably
Sweet.
love it.
And that too, another thing that I wanted to talk about. This Superman movie, it's coming at exactly the right time. The world needs
Mhm.
a formal Superman movie, not a depressing Superman movie.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty well and tired of the hey, what if Superman was shitty trope. We
Yeah,
had
I
that
mean,
with
we got that enough with Homelander.
we had that with Watchmen, and that was enough for me. Right? I love
Yeah.
Watchmen. Watchmen's great, but I don't need another what if Superman was shitty.
That happened with, I don't
I
know
don't
if you
I
watched this.
I don't care about The Boys, I don't care about Invincible, I
Yeah.
didn't need it to keep happening.
Yeah. It happened twice in the same, network.
Yeah, and with the Snyder films, it kept happening over and over and over again. He may not have been a shitty person, but he was a shitty Superman.
They made him kill someone in the first outing. The whole city was destroyed in the first outing. He, died in his second outing.
Yeah,
It's
and
like, what's happening here?
and I get what they were going for, but I never felt like I was watching Superman.
They forced, what's his name? The director of Dark Knight, Nolan.
Christopher Nolan.
They forced him to be a producer on,
Yep,
Man of Steel. He dipped afterwards.
and who could blame him?
Yeah. It's like, what is this? This is dark
But
for no reason.
the world is not in a good place right now. There's a lot of scary
Mhm.
shit happening.
And to add on to that, it's in a bad place and everyone is noticing it.
Yeah,
And that means something because it's like you wake up and it's just like, oh man,
in your face.
this place got blown up and all they did was exist.
It's in your face.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, especially with the information age.
Hmm.
You are gonna be aware of what's going on in the world, as you should be.
Yeah.
But
We need ways to cope with that.
right, and back during World War I and World War II, what was the popular form of escapism? And
Comics.
escapism is not a bad thing. Everybody needs it from time to time. It was comic books,
Hmm.
right? Captain America #1, front cover. He's punching Hitler in the jaw.
Yeah, let's push some positive ideas.
The world needs actual Superman right now
So what you're
badly.
telling me is for my next podcast cover, it needs to be me punching Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm here for it. Let's go.
okay. That was quick. Although I want to go. I'm not sure if I want to stay there too long. Let's see how this goes. But being that as America, he's not like the singular force of like nonsense because it doesn't matter who's in office. Senate and Supreme Court sucks.
Yeah.
So it's like we could have our man Bernie in office and
Oh, shit would still be bad.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. I mean, it would matter a little bit, but it wouldn't be this. We would celebrate and then be like, okay, nothing's gonna get passed.
Yeah. Well, something I like to say about that, and Bernie Sanders is a step in the right direction, certainly,
Hmm.
as would several other people be. But more importantly, to the spirit of the concept here, we don't really have a two-party system in this country because we have a very right-wing party and we have a center right party that likes
Hmm.
to pass itself off as a left-wing party, but it is not.
I was saying that to my friend in the car. Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah.
Whereas the people who are on the left wing kind of align themselves to center right, that center party, just to get their votes, because it's like if you're not a Democrat or a Republican, they're going to cast you off usually.
And you've illustrated the next step of my point
Hmm.
perfectly. As System of a Down said, we can't afford to be neutral on a moving train.
Hmm.
Centrism, neutrality does not get things done.
No, it
The
doesn't.
reason why the right wing movement has been successful in taking hold in this country and pulling things further and further right is because they're the ones doing things. We haven't had a real leftist movement in this country in quite a long time.
Decades.
And this is the result of that.
Hmm.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So whether it's Bernie or it's not Bernie, something's got to give.
Hmm. Yeah, I've been saying this for the past 2 weeks, and me and you send each other Instagram posts a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I've been like putting it to these specific words. We're a mostly right wing country. We only do left wing things at extreme times. Like every socialist or public program we have only happened because it was an extreme reaction to things. Like social services only exist because of the Great Depression. If there's
Yep.
no Great Depression, we wouldn't have anything to fall back on.
Yep.
Um, Public school, that's a little bit longer of a history, but that was just an extreme reaction to people not being educated. The stimulus checks we received during COVID, they don't give people money. That was just an extreme reaction to a pandemic. No pandemic, we would have never got money from the government.
Yep.
So we're in a mostly right wing country. If you even ask any like expert, if you ask an AI right now, they would say our ideals are right wing. Like the fact that we're so focused on individualism and capitalism the way we are, those are all right wing thoughts. We just
Yes.
pretend we're left wing because of our media.
Yep. We like to culturally we like to espouse progressive values
Hmm.
and those are worthwhile things, right? But in reality, where the power is in this country, the support is not there.
Hmm. I agree. All
All
right.
the more reason why we need a Superman ass Superman movie.
Yeah, and hopefully I can spark something in some kid who watches one day, and they could be like, "I want to be more like that guy."
Hey,
Art
worked for me.
matters.
It worked for me growing up. I read Captain America like I like this dude.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, to bring it full circle, Facebook sucks.
It does.
Um,
And
Superman's
so does
good. Captain
Twitter.
America's good. Sorry, say again.
And so does Twitter.
Oh, that's not even a discussion. That's been a bad app for a while. It was a bad app before Lex
Yeah.
Luthor took it over.
And now it's worse.
Yeah, is he even Lex Luthor? Or is he like? Is there a worse version of Lex Luthor in the comics? Is Maxwell Lord in one?
I was gonna say comparing Elon Musk to Lex Luthor is an insult to Lex Luthor.
So who could he be? He's the guy from Iron Man 2. Hammer.
Oh, Justin Hammer. No, Justin Hammer was at least funny. Uh,
Huh. Like, there's not going to be a one for one comparison then.
if you give me a minute, I bet I can. I bet I
Okay.
can come up with one.
Hmm.
Elon Musk is Carmine Falcone.
I don't know him from the comics too well. I'll be honest. I know.
Gotham City mob boss.
No, I know who he is, but I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know his comic characterization. I only seen him
If you
in.
want to become familiar with his comic book characterization, read
Let me write this down.
what I consider to be the most important Batman storyline, period.
Hmm.
After Frank Miller did Dark Knight Returns, he did Batman Year One.
I know year one. Okay.
And
I
Year
might
One
have that in my digital archive somewhere.
and Year One is part one in a trilogy
Hmm.
that explores not just Batman, but also Catwoman and the mob families in Gotham and so on and so forth. The Robert Pattinson Batman movie took a lot of inspiration from
Yes,
that
it did.
trilogy. It's Year One, or I'm sorry, Year One, Long Halloween, Dark Victory.
I didn't know the Dark Victory part, but I did know it was year one and Long Halloween.
Definitely read Dark Victory too.
Okay, I'm gonna add that too. I'm also going to get into the Ultimate Universe, the new Ultimate comics in Marvel, and the Absolute comics in DC.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that we're going back to the Ultimates universe because
Yeah,
it was one of my favorite things growing up. That hit when I was like 13, 14, and oh man, just such cool takes on those characters. Oh, there's something I wanted to bring up real quick while
mhm,
we have a little bit of time left here. Reasons why alternate universe versions of characters are cool in certain contexts,
mhm,
but don't work well in others.
mhm.
Apropos of this Superman movie working because it's Superman ass Superman. Why didn't the Zack Snyder version of Superman land the way it was intended? Because it may as well have been an AU of Superman. It was so different from classic Superman.
Yeah,
But you look at what Marvel has done with the MCU, where they've introduced alternate timeline versions of characters that are, it's like, oh, well, that's cool. Like all the Deadpool variants in Deadpool
yes,
3. The difference is we already had Deadpool ass Deadpool
right.
front and center.
You
You
get to see the contrast
cannot
now.
you cannot riff on a character without their proper context present first.
I agree.
You cannot present an alternate version of a character first. You need to have the classic or traditional version of that character as the first outing, as the here's this character, to give the context of, oh, well, here's why this alternate version is cool. Because if you don't do that, then
Hmm.
you've got a bunch of people like me and you looking at it like this shit's not right.
I agree. Hmm. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop.
Sounds good. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I've got to go meal prep for tomorrow anyway. Oh, one
Uh-huh.
last thing. This hat
Sure.
I've been wearing this entire time. I'm a huge fan thereof. It's my new everyday hat. Hashtag justice for Waluigi. Shout out to my friend Fee, who makes really cool stuff. This hat among
Mhm.
them. You can check out what she does at idkdudeshop.com.
Okay. I'll put that in post production. I'll type it out
Hell
on the
yeah.
screen. Okay. Like the shout out. Maybe I can hit her up so I can run a little commercial for her on this.
Hell yeah.
So thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
This is the
Anytime.
least prepared I ever was for a podcast because traffic in Delco / City Line sucks now.
Traffic in Delco is a nightmare.
It's like,
And this week, for whatever reason, it's been horrible. I don't know. It's something in the water.
yeah, I don't know. Hasn't been this bad for me in a while.
Yeah, I've noticed it too.
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna do the capitalist part where I have to plug things in. So remember, follow Dan at dan.von.doom because people always forget the dots.
Yeah.
So just a dot between each word.
Dan.von.doom.
Um, if you enjoyed today's episode, click the follow button, leave me a review. If you're on Spotify or Apple, on YouTube, feel free to comment, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's the best way to support. Oh, also share with a friend if they're into this kind of stuff. Even if they just like movies, it doesn't have to be a Marvel movie. If it's a non-Marvel movie you ever want me to review, just let me know. I'll watch it. That's all I do is watch things. More. So share with a friend. More listeners means more episodes. Um, yeah, that's all I got. Follow me on. I keep saying TikTok because I'm used to saying that. And I'm not even active
Don't
on there. I
follow
just
anybody on TikTok ever again. Just let it die.
yeah. The crazy thing is, I like the idea of it. I just didn't use it that much.
No, no, the idea of it's cool. The
Yeah.
execution of it is not.
Oh, matter of fact, let's hold that. When it actually dies, we'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay. But yeah, follow me on Instagram at avatar.slang. That's avatar.slang. Not literally DOT dot, but do a period. Avatar period slang.
There you
Um,
go.
thank you for being part of the slang gang. And we are out.
Have a good night.
If I can remember how to hit the stop button. Oh,
I believe in you.
I found it. Yeah, this software is kicking my butt a little bit.
Hell yeah.